Sadhguru Maharaj ki jai. Radhe Radhe. With the immense blessings of our beloved Guru Maharaj, Maharani Shri Shri Gurudev Swamiji, and by the mercy of our Sri Madhavi Sati Samhita Premika Thakurji, the uniqueness of our Sanatana Dharma, especially the Bhagavata Dharma, is the path itself is joyous, path itself is relishable, and instead of making us run away from the world, which is what generally spirituality entails an aspirant to do, our Rasamarga of Bhagavatam is actually encouraging us to see divinity in this world itself, as the world itself. See? And since there are 4 pillars to our Bhagavata Dharma, as you might all know, if somebody asks you what are the 4 pillars of your path, which has been shown by the elders, it's very simple. The 4 pillars are, the first pillar is Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam. And the second pillar is Mahamantra. The third pillar is serving the divine lordships, which is Yugala Seva. Yugala means couple, divine couple, Radha Krishna. And the fourth one is obviously a trip to Vrindavan or to our Madhuvan, which is our Madhurapuri. So these are the 4 important pillars of our Bhagavata Dharma, the Dharma of love. But we, being a part of Hinduism, we should trace our roots to Vedas, isn't it? The beauty with Bhagavatam, as all of you would have done Parayana, is Nigama Kalpataror Dhalitam Phalam Shukamukha Mrudadrava Samyutam Pibata Bhagavatam Rasam Alayam Muhuraho Rasikaha Bhuvi Bhavuka. The beauty with the third sloka of our first chapter in the first canto is it traces Bhagavatam's link to Vedas. Only then Bhagavata Dharma becomes Sanatana Dharma. If you say you are a Hindu, somehow you have to trace your source of authority or the path prescribed or the path described to Vedas. And for us, Bhagavatam is the fruit of Vedas, which means if you imagine Vedas as a wish-fulfilling tree, Bhagavatam is the fruit which fell from the tree. And a fruit, when it falls away from the tree, becomes a source of relish, a source of nourishment, a source of energy, a source of life, as it were, distinct from its parent, because it has moved away from the tree, isn't it? But it cannot owe its existence independent of its parent, which is the tree. Hence, our Bhagavata Dharma, when I said the 4 pillars, the first pillar is Srimad Bhagavatam itself. And that Bhagavatam, even though is the essence and fruit of all Vedas, is a distinct authority in itself for us to understand the path of divine love, divine acceptance, and also this wonderful path of rasa or relish. And that's why the fruit of the Vedas, our Vyasa Bhagavan, Veda Vyasa Bhagavan is saying, all you dharmikas, please come and enjoy. Or you spiritualists, you all come and enjoy. Or he didn't call all Vedantis come and enjoy. He is specifically calling out for this fortunate class of people called Rasikas. People who want to make this whole life a celebration. People who want to marry a joy of relish along with a spiritual path to attain the highest purpose of life. And that's the path of rasa, and people who travel in the path, the fortunate ones, are called rasikas. That's why Bhagavatam very beautifully calls out rasikaha bhuvi bhavukaha. Rasikaha and bhuvi bhavukaha. And we already saw the difference between, the slight difference, the very, very thin line between rasa and bhava. And our Vyasa Bhagavan is saying, all you rasikas, all you bhavukas, you come. When rasa becomes a personal experience in us, it becomes a bhava. Okay, just in a very simple terms. And so here is our Bhagavatam, and it is the source of our authority, one of the main founding pillars for our path called Bhagavata Dharma. The other paths being worshipping the divine couple. We call it Yugal Sarkar or Yugalam, which is our Radha Devi and Bhagavan Sri Krishna together. Generally, it is not easy for a person to walk into such a path. There are people who worship Vishnu. There are people who worship just Bala Krishna or just Krishna. But to worship in our Namadvars or at our homes, the divine couple itself entails tremendous fortune because there is so much rasa in the worship of the divine couple. And today I thought we will see a lovely story of a Vrindavana Bhakta to show the beauty of how we worship divine couple. Before that, because we were anyway reading Venu Geetam, each line of Venu Geetam, because it came from the nectarine heart of our gopis, each line has so much rasa in it. And the people have interpreted the entire Venu Geetam as a song of longing. Huh? It's a song of longing. When somebody is separated from their beloved, which is Bhagavan Sri Krishna, everything which is associated with Bhagavan Sri Krishna is either revered with respect, or it is celebrated, or it is seen with gratitude, because when I see you, since you're associated with Krishna, you are bringing me the memory of Krishna, so I'm grateful to you, whether it is the bamboo, which is our Venu, or whether it is the river or the deer, the whole 9 yards of all those who were relishing our Venu Geetam. It also can evoke longing. It is like when I want to be with Krishna, look at the flute, it is with Krishna, it is so fortunate, I am not. The rivers are offering lotuses to the lotus feet of Krishna, but I am not. And all the deers and the he deers and she deers, whatever name you give it in English, they all are doing the lovely worship of Krishna because they are able to see Krishna with tremendous love in their eyes. They are fortunate, I am not, you see. So this whole Venu Geetam is a universe in itself, because that's the depth, that's the breadth of our divine Guru Mandalam called Gopis. It has all sorts of rasas flowing out depending on which bhava you want to take. If you want to take the mood of longing, Venu Geetam brings out, evokes that longing in our heart. If you want to take the mood of gratitude, Venu Geetam brings out that lovely mood of gratitude. If you want a mood of celebration, Venu Geetam celebrates. The entire universe is celebrating the lovely flute playing of our beloved Thakurji. So you can look at the Venu Geetam as a celebration or as reverence. Santaya Madhri Rabara Haridasa Varyo. The whole gopis are looking at Haridasa Varya, which is our Govardhana Giri Maharaj. Way back in 1993, our Swamiji took all of us to Brindavan. That was the first trip for me to Brindavan, believe it or not. And we all went to Brindavan. It was an experience which was was out of this world. And while we were going there, our Swamiji one day took us to this Govardhana Giri Maharaj. You see, it's a few kilometers away from the main Brindavan village. You have to take a van or a bus and go to Govardhan. There is Manasi, Ganga. So we went to Brindavan, we went to Govardhan. And while we were just wandering around near Govardhan Maharaj, I got a little lost. You see, I was on my in my own world, and suddenly I found the main group is missing. So with whatever little Delhi Hindi I knew, I went to a nearby Vrajavasi. Vrajavasi means a person who is a native of Brindavan. Imagine that. So I went there and asked that person, what is the way to, how do I get to Govardhan Hill? That person visibly was so angry and upset that he almost slapped me. And instead of getting a hard blow, I just got a pat in my cheek because he restrained himself and said, Govardhan mat bolo, Govardhan Giri Maharaj bolo. Don't look at it as Govardhan Hill. He is actually Govardhan Giri Maharaj. Maharaj means a Mahatma. Maharaj means Bhagavadottama. And to this day, the culture, the ethos in the real Vrindavan, you forget all the commercial side of it, all the establishments, post office, railway station, all that, take it off from your head. Go back to those 5,000 years back when Bhagavan Sri Krishna was there, our Nanda Baba was there, Yashoda was there. That ethos, that culture, that bhav, that relish still exists in Vrindavan. And this is what the gopis are saying. Hantaya madhirabala haridasa varyo yad Rama Krishna charana sparsha pramodaha manam tanoti sahago ganayostayoryate paniya suyavasa kandara kandamulai. Gopis were looking at our Govardhan Giri Maharaj and they were saying, Hanta, Hanta, alas, look at it. Look at this great Mahatma called Govardhan Giri Maharaj. For an untrained, dry, mundane eye, it is just a pile of rocks. For an untrained, arasika, mundane eye, even that which exists in sanctum sanctorum is the same na, in a temple. But for a person with prema and a bhakti, the whole world scene in Vrindavan is totally different. You see, philosophy we can read from books. Okay, understanding the symbolism of Hinduism can be read from books. Even understanding do's and don'ts and whys and why nots of Hinduism, all those dry stuff, can be seen from books or heard from a knowledgeable person. But for us to be transformed in our heart, to be drenched with love and see through that lovely sweetness of love at Bhagavan in a temple or the wonderful Leela Stalas, the various places of sport in Vrindavan, that takes Satsanga, that takes Guru Kripa. It's a gift. And yes, we need to know whys and why nots. In fact, we ourselves run a series now, I'm off, then all that stuff. We need to know that so that our foundation is built. But foundation is not where we live now. We need to build a lovely house, which is cool, which is beautiful, which is aesthetic. That's where we live. The foundation is all the whys and why nots. All those dharma, all those, philosophy, all that. But on all that, we need to build a lovely house, a lovely kutiram. And the kutiram where our Gopa Kumara comes and stays. That's why Swamiji aptly named this as Gopa Kutiram. Gopa Kutiram is not for children. It is for everybody who would like to actually develop a childlike love in the heart towards Radharani and Bhagavan Sri Krishna. Right? So here is this Govardhan Giri Maharaj and the Vrajavasi to this day was visibly upset and told me, don't call it Govardhan. He is Govardhan Giri Maharaj. You see? And that's what our gopis are also looking at. Not just a pile of rocks. They are looking at a great Bhagavata. And they are showing signs of how we can recognize love in the heart of a Bhakta. He says, look here, this Govardhana Giri Maharaj has given place for our Krishna to play with his Gopas in its slopes. So a Bhagavata is a person who would want to serve Krishna, so he is a Bhagavata. But then Haridasa. Haridasa means Hari is Krishna, Dasa means servant. because it serves Krishna, it allows Krishna to play, it gives water, it gives fruits to Krishna, it is Hari Dasa. But then our gopis add a little adjective, a superlative adjective. Like, for example, you say good, better, best. Here the word Haridasa Varyo means he is a Haridasa Vara, means he is the best of all Haridasas. Why? They give many reasons. That's the beauty and depth and the rasa in the words which gopis say. Haridasa Varyo. Why? Rama Krishna Charana Sparsha Pramodaha. The little shrubs you see in this Govardhan Giri Maharaj, they don't see it as shrubs on the surface of a mountain. They see it as, when we get a chance to see Bhagavan, if you are a true devotee of Bhagavan, you will find the bhava of love filling our entire being. And when bhava, which is rasa in action, when we are filled with that love in our heart called bhava, it expresses itself in the various changes in our body. For example, any emotion is supposed to create a small emotive or a motion in the body. It is supposed to affect the body. Only then it's an emotion. Otherwise, it's a thought only. Na? And bhakti is also a very refined and a very divine emotion. So obviously, it has to reflect in the body. How do I know I have devotion? When the name Krishna can bring in this tremendous horripilation. You say hair standing on its edge and all that, horripilation. Some physical conditions can cause horripilation. When it's too cold, you feel all this horripilation, etc. But when a thought or when a bhava in me independently creates horripilation, that's how we understand there is a sign of devotion. And when somebody celebrates Krishna, you feel a joy in our heart. That's rasa. But when the joy expresses itself explicitly in the various signs in the body, it becomes bhava or bhakti. And so here, our Govardhana Giri Maharaj has a lot of caves. And in the caves, our Krishna used to play hide and seek. He used to do a lot of leela there. And just like how we have a cave in Vedanta, our heart is also called a cave where the consciousness resides. And so consciousness is Krishna. So here, Govardhana Giri Maharaj's heart also has a cave. In that, our Bhagavan Sri Krishna Sakshat, he himself used to play with his gopas and gopis. And so, remembering the touch of Bhagavan Sri Krishna, or by the direct touch of Krishna's feet, the little shrubs and bushes which comes from the surface of our Govardhan Maharaj are seen as the hair standing straight, or what is called as a horripilation, or romanchanam, or pulakankitam, as it's called in Sanskritam, Mayur Kuchal, as it's called in Tamil. It actually creates this touch of Bhagavan Sri Krishna created tremendous love in the heart, which expressed itself in the body of our Govardhana Giri Maharaj in form of these little shrubs. How do you see how gopis see Govardhana Giri Maharaj? They are teaching us to see. This is how you see. And why should I see like that? Very simple. If you want to enjoy the joy of relish and love in our heart, this is how you see things which are divine. So here, Rama Krishna Charana Sparsha Pramodaha. Not only that, it tremendously respects not only Bhagavan Sri Krishna, but also Saha Go Ganayos Tayor Yati. Not only Krishna is respected, not only our Swamini is respected, but also those who actually serve Bhagavan are also served by Govardhana Giri Maharaj. Generally, Gopas serve Bhagavan, they are Bhagavatas. Serving Bhagavan makes you a Haridasa. Serving Bhagavatas makes you the Haridasa Varya, a superior Haridasa. So, when our Bhagavan comes with his Gopas and also the cows which serve the Gopas, imagine you have gone 2 levels down. Servant of a servant. You see. Our gopis say, whoever comes to Govardhan Maharaj, it entertains them with cool water, roots, shrubs, grass, fruits, everything, shade. And so he is the supreme of all Bhagavatottamas. Not only that, the little waterfalls which comes and appears in some parts of Govardhan Maharaj, the gopis looked at it and said, "This is how a bhakta would shed tears of joy." Na? When you hear the kripa, the compassion of Bhagavan, and you shed tears of joy, that shows it's the bhava, it's the sign of love in the heart. When a daughter is about to leave to her in-laws' house, in a very traditional Indian thing, I'm sure you have seen in movies and all that. The mother sheds tears of joy. The father sheds tears of joy that a daughter is settled. Or when a son moves to a different house along with his wife, the mother and father sheds tears of joy that my son is settled, my daughter is settled, etc. That when it happens towards Bhagavan Sri Krishna is another sign of devotion, isn't it? And our gopis look at Govardhan Maharaj and they say, Pani yasu yavasa kandhara kantamu Pani. And there is wonderful waterfalls in Govardhan Maharaj. And that waterfalls is not seen as a natural beauty, it is seen as a divine beauty because Govardhan Maharaj is a Bhagavadottama. And just like how a devotee of Krishna will shed tears of joy listening to Bhagavan's glory, compassion, and beauty, our Govardhan Maharaj is also remembering the grace of Bhagavan and shedding tears of joy. So he is a Bhagavadottama. You see, that's how bhakti develops. We need to see through the eyes of a gopi. And that is the reason why Govardhana Maharaj is held in the highest esteem by all Krishna Bhaktas. He is not seen as a mountain. He is seen as a Bhagavata Uttama. He is seen as the greatest of all devotees. Even Krishna can't bless us with love. Only devotees can bless us with love. Only Guru can bless us with divine love. Krishna can bless with other things. He does not bless us with love. In fact, he pushes us into a satsang of a Guru. And it is the Guru Kripa which makes us flower within in divine love. And so, do you know, when you go to Vrindavan, nobody does any spiritual practices like meditation, sadhana, all that, bundle it up. Being in Vrindavanam itself is what is the greatest fortune. So people don't do any sadhana. All they do is they chant Radhe Krishna, Radhe Radhe, Bolo Gopi, Shri Radhe Radhe, and they chant that. Or they would do only one physical sadhana. Sadhana means practices, spiritual practices. Pranayama is a sadhana. Asanam is a sadhana. Dhyana is a sadhana. Japam is a sadhana, etc. The only sadhana physically they do in Vrindavan is circumambulating Govardhana Giri Maharaj. So that Krishna is pleased with us, Radharani is pleased with us, Govardhana Giri Maharaj is pleased with us, and he blesses us with divine love and the divine darshan of Bhagavan Sri Krishna. That's the only sadhana they all do out there. And that's the only sadhana all Brajavasis, they don't do anything else. They keep chanting the divine name, which comes naturally. If you go to Vrindavan, you can't help chanting. Because the whole ambience will make you chant. Everywhere you see, there will be Radhe Radhe everywhere. And so here in Vrindavan, there was this great Mahatma. He comes from the lineage of a great Acharya Purusha. Our own Sri Sri Anna has given an account in Sanskritam, where he talks about this great Mahatma called Sri Bhatta Mahaprabhu. Or his name is Sri Bhatta. Some people call it as Sri Bhatta Acharya. And the Sri Bhatta was a Rasika Acharya. Constantly, he used to do the dhyana or smarana and the kirtana of Radha Krishna Yugal Sarkar. And our Sri Bhatta had a very special way to worship our Yugal Sarkar. This is a very special case of Yugal Sarkar. He worshipped Radha Devi and Bhagavan Sri Krishna as children, like our Madhuri Sakhi and Premika Vardhan. Typically, Madhuri Sakhi is about 4 or 5 years old. Premika Vardhan is about 5 years old. Remember, look at that. That's very beautiful, isn't it? Mm. In that, our Sri Bhattar used to constantly do smarana and the puja of little Krishna, little Radha. Such a lovely thing, na? A child couple or little Krishna and little Radha as a couple used to do smarana. And when he was doing such a smarana, another Mahatma who was enthused or who was actually sent by divine will to be his Shishya came out there. And he came to Vrindavan, fell at the feet of Sri Bhattar. And he begged our Bhattar to say, please accept me as your Shishya. Tell me, what should I do? What do I need to do for me to be blessed or to be the Kripa Patra of our Radha Krishna Yugal Sarkar? What do I have to do? Our Sri Bhattar smiled and asked him, what do you see in my lap? And that youngster who came, he cried. And then he cried and said, oh my God, I'm such a, such a very gross person. I don't have a subtle eye. I'm not able to see anything at all. Sri Bhattar smiled and said, is that so? Then in that case, what you need to do is, you better go and do Govardhana Parikrama and then you come back to me. And our person who came to Bhattar, he immediately went and did Govardhana Parikrama. And while he was just leaving to do Govardhana Parikrama, Bhattar very calmly said, you need to do this Govardhana Parikrama for 12 years. 12 years. What would a normal person would have said? You want me to keep doing Govardhana Parikrama for 12 years? I don't want Radhe, I don't want Krishna, I don't want you, let me go. But here is a person who was truly interested in a divine experience. And so he said, let me actually do this. And he actually went around. For 12 years, he actually did Govardhana Parikrama. And when he came back after 12 years, our Bhattar was still in the same place behind the Kadamba Vriksha. And he came, fell at the feet of Bhattar, and with his hands folded, he stood there. Bhattar again asked this question, what do you see in my lap? He said, I think I am a papi. I think I am a sinner. I am not able to see anything at all in your lap. Then Bhattar said, is that so? In that case, you do another 12 years of Govardhana Parikrama and come back. So he went again, another big round of Govardhana Parikrama for 12 years. And then he came back again. He came back. And when he actually came back, he saw in the lap of our Bhattar, Bhagavan Sri Krishna as a child sitting in one lap, and our Sri Swamini, our Radha Devi, as a small little girl with two plaited, twin plaited hair, with the wonderful Pattu Pavadai and Pattu Chokka, with a wonderful tilak in her forehead, smiling, ear to ear, and playing around with Bhagavan Sri Krishna, who was sitting in the other lap. Krishna was playing with our little Radhe sitting on the other lap. And both of them were looking at each other with tremendous love. Both of them were playing childlike games, sitting in the lap of Bhattar. Imagine the joy. Immediately he started shedding tears of joy, fell at the feet of his Guru. And then the Guru asked, what do you see? And immediately he said, what else is there to see? And the butter was very happy with him. And he said, it is by Srimati Radharani's Kripa that you are able to see this divine couple in my lap. And so you are blessed by Radharani and Bhagavan Sri Krishna. And now what you need to do is to just constantly remember what you just saw, and you sing and you relish and you serve the divine couple. And the name of the Sishya was Harivyasa, and the name of the Guru was Sri Bhatta. And this Harivyasa and Sri Bhatta comes from the lineage of Nimbarkarish. They are from Nimbarka Sampradaya, another great Mahatma like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Vallabhacharya. And Harivyasa became a Mahatma, and he himself had a lot of Sishyas to serve him. Constantly he did bhajana of Radha Krishna Yugalam, and he has written a lot of lovely songs in Vraja Bhasha about our Radha Krishna Yugalam. And he also became a Mahatma solely by just fulfilling a divine ordinance given by a Guru. That's all it is. We can read all the libraries. We can try doing a million pranayamas. But do you know where our Radha Krishna Yugal Sarkar is? They are in the hand of a Guru. When a Guru is pleased, when a Guru is happy, Bhagavan and our Swamini gives their darshan to the Sishya, blesses the Sishya, and also makes the Sishya perfect. That's the beauty of Guru Kripa. Guru Karunya Patranam Durlabam Kin Jagatraye Yat Katakshena Bhaktanam Sulabho Bhagavan Swayam. If you want to truly relish the Prema Rasa in our heart, or Bhakti Rasa in our heart, or Bhagavata Rasa in our heart, Guru is everywhere, as we discussed last time itself. And our Krishna and our Swamini are sitting right in the lap of Guru. And the easiest place for us to get this wonderful sprout of love in the heart is by being reverential and is by serving the Guru. When I say Guru, I mean a Guru who is complete in all respects, not a person who talks very wittily or nicely, who is promoting himself and all this. They are also Guru, but that's not the Guru which I am talking, and I hope you understand. This is a Guru who is complete in experience. How do you know? Generally, you find the Guru are all very humble, and they shun actually too much publicity. They shun too much crowds. They would, given an option, they would like to just be where they are and do their bhajana and relish bhakti, but Krishna pushes them out. And those are the people, those are the rare gems, I can't even use the plural here, who actually shine the light of love in the heart of all those who are ready to receive. So, our Govardhanagiri Maharaj, the parikrama of Govardhanagiri Maharaj was suggested by Sri Bhatta coming from Nimbarka Sampradaya to Sri Harivyasa Prabhu, and our Sri Harivyasa Acharya also became complete. Just he didn't do anything else. Guru told him to do 12 years of parikrama. Parikrama means circumambulation, pradakshina. That's all he did. That is the power of a Guru Vatya. That which you can't find in books, that which you can't find in self-study, that which you can't find in the million lectures you find in all the other places. One word of Guru is enough. One magical touch of Guru is enough for us to be transformed in our heart. And the beauty with genuine Gurus is that they don't do it for any reason. Their love is costless. The only thing we need to do is somehow put them in our heart, or somehow find a place in their heart. And that's all is required. If we somehow come within the field of their eyesight, kataksham, that itself is enough for us to be transformed. during the Ter, which is the chariot function we do on the last day of our Utsav, our Swamiji was walking along with the chariot, and there were two sleepy 2-year-olds in one of the small settlements, huts there. And the grandmother virtually lifted that little child in its shoulders, and then made the child fall before the Guru and told Sami, குழந்தைய கொஞ்சம் ஆசீர்வாதம் பண்ணுங்க. And the mother came with the second child and put it flat. Then I realized these grandmother and mother are not literate. They have not read Bhagavatam. They have not read Gita, all probability. And they were not much educated also. But the ethos of spirituality in India is such that they understand the supreme secret that you can do PhD in Gita. You can do postdoc research in Bhagavatam. All that won't give us an iota of experience. But one Kripa Kataksha of a Guru can make us complete. And what we say would be researched upon by people in future. That they knew now. That they knew. And I'm sure the child will grow up and some point of time in its life would realize the grandness of life and the beauty of devotion because of that Kataksha, which was costless. Why did the Guru bless that child? Does he know even the name of the child physically? Maybe not. Somehow it came within the ambit of his eyesight. That was enough for a Guru to bless the child. Krishna blessing, he has infinite storage of power. He is Aishwarya Prabhu, Ishvara. That's also not a great thing. But these Mahatmas have earned this experience. They have undergone tremendous sacrifice. Right? Like you and me, they have undergone life. In the sense that, they also experience hunger. They also experience thirst. They have won over all this with tremendous sacrifice. And what they earned with this tremendous sacrifice, they are freely promulgating, spreading it. I think that's greater, isn't it? That which is hard earned and hard won is truly distributed. Somebody is naturally rich and is distributing, great thing, no doubt. But when somebody is distributing something which is hard won by that person, that distribution is true costless compassion. That's what a Guru is. And that's why our Sri Anna celebrates Guru's Kripa as Guru Karunya Patranam Durlabam Kin Jagatraye Yat Katakshena Bhaktanam Sulabho Bhagavan Swayam. If you are the recipient of the compassion and Kripa, Karunya of Guru, what is difficult to attain in all the three worlds? Durlabam Kim Jagatraye. The Kataksha or this small little grace from the Guru makes even Hari or Bhagavan, who is difficult to attain even by yogis, very sulabham, very simple. That is the beauty of a genuine Guru's grace, a Guru who shows the path of devotion. And that Guru, one blessing is enough. That's the beauty of this wonderful story of our Hari Vyasa Acharya and Sri Bhatta Acharya from Nimbarka Sampradaya, one of the 4 main Sampradayas in Vrindavan. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Gaudiya Sampradaya, Nimbarka Sampradaya, Vallabhacharya Sampradaya, and Hita Hari Vamsha Sampradaya. And of course, we have the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, the Premika Sampradaya. All these are all Sampradayas. That's the beauty of this great Maharaj, Govardhan Giri Maharaj. Thanks to this wonderful group out here, I was very blessed today to remember a great Bhagavadottama who actually blesses devotees of Bhagavan Sri Krishna to develop love towards Krishna and even finally very darshan experience of the divine love of Krishna. And today it's a good day, great day because we remembered Govardhan Giri Maharaj as shown by gopis, as shown by our Maharaj. I think we'll stop here today. I hope we are all constantly in touch with Bhagavatam, with Chintana of the various rasas of Bhagavatam, and it has become a part of our life by the grace of our Guru. सर्वत्र गोविंद नाम संकीर्तनम गोविंद गोविंद प्रेमामृतं यो मुरलीनिनादैः श्रीकृष्ण रूपेण पुराववर्ष अद्यापि सोऽयं मुरलीधराख्यो श्यामि सहर्ष। सद्गुरु महाराज की जय।